Hello, and of course, I'm BobbyJ with another Overwatch Weekly podcast. This week I've got RQD, Smashbrutha, and Genome. But before we get to the podcast, make sure you check out OC Overwatch, go to Server 76 Discord, Watchpoint Oceania. They all put on fantastic events with Server 76 putting on the weekly rumble this Sunday. CyberGamer will be playing the grand final this week's weekly at 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, so be sure to check out that. The weekly will be improved for next week. We're going to talk about a lot of that in the podcast. And of course, SummerSeries is just around the corner, 4th of February. Make sure you sign up. You can find all the links below in the description. Be sure to retweet this stream on my Twitter, @the_BobbyJ. It definitely helps me out. I appreciate the love and support from everyone. Enjoy the episode. Hello, welcome to another Overwatch Weekly podcast with BobbyJ, episode 10 now, a couple into 2017. Got another 3 guests with me. We've got the Fusion Girl himself, RQT or RQT. And we've got everyone's favorite brother, Smashbrutha, and of course, and one of our favorite casters in the scene, Genome. So what's going on, Genome?
Cheers, Bobby. I'm having a great Australia Day. It's been rowdy. I went to see La La Land with my mum earlier, so yeah, it's been a pretty wild day for me.
That sounds crazy, mate. Well, Smash, how are you going, bro?
Yeah, I'm going great. Woke up a few hours ago. Just been chilling. Not much planned for tonight.
Sleeping through the invasion day, I see. And of course, RQT, last but not least, how are you going?
Not too bad. Haven't touched a drink yet, so it's been a shit Australia Day, but I'll get there.
Well, you can
Fix
have
that.
Well, I expect Discord tonight be full of all you drunken fools and shitting on people in either quick play or maybe even organize some pugs so people aren't scrimming tonight. This team's not on, so everyone could be jumping into ANZ Overwatch Discord tonight.
There will be shit talk, I assure you.
It's going to be
Not
good
sure
fun.
about the rest.
It's going to be good fun. Let's hash over some CyberGamer results. That's pretty much the only thing we've really had in the past week, other than scrims and whatnot. So I decided to put an experiment together this week. I wanted to have a group stage with a single elim finals afterwards with the top team from each group, 4 groups. So it would have been 4 people, 4 teams playing in the finals, which took a very long time. I think it was about 10:30, close to 11 o'clock when we finished the group stage finally. And there were some teams that just had to wait quite a while. And by the time we got into the semi-finals, I think that after we finished the semi-final game, it was about 12:30. So clearly there needs to be some work on that format. So a big thank you to all the teams that showed up and were patient. I know there was a lot of people keen to get their feedback in afterwards. So it was a big long line of text, one after the other. I read through all your messages. So I've got some ideas that I'll share on the podcast what to do for next week. But the results were default, Monopoly Club, 10-18 and Ancient Templar all made it through the group stage, where a lot of the other teams came quite close. It was quite competitive throughout the night. We had some really good games, and then now it's default versus Monopoly Club, which Monopoly Club is the reinvention of Treemen. They've dropped Darklight, picked up Gob, so strong showing from them throughout the series. So that will be on Sunday night starting at 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. So let's talk about the results and how you guys all feel about it. Starting with you, QD, I don't know if you watched it, so give me your thoughts so far on the teams that made it through into the semis and the finals.
So it's Ancient Templar, right?
Yep, Ancient Templar, Monopoly Club.
Not really a surprise there. The other ones, obviously, probably potentially surprised. It depends on the groups. I don't know too much. I think Monopoly Club had like a kind of okay, easy group, I think, but nothing taken away from them. Jam didn't make it through, which is surprising, I think. But the thing about this was, if you lost like one game, which it's still a best of one, you risked not being able to get out of your group, which I didn't particularly like.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's a bit surprising, just given the names that are in the grand finals. I'm sure people are like, wait, what? When they hear it, if they weren't there.
Yeah.
But it's good to see new teams coming through.
What about you, Smash? You're there as the guest analyst throughout the evening. What are your thoughts on the night?
Personally, I thought the games were really good, really competitive. The group stage kind of added an extra bit of storyline to it. You know, some teams could have lost a game and then, still made it out of the group on tiebreaker results and stuff like that. Unfortunately, it went really late into the night, which kind of affected some teams. It's just something that we have to realize that we need to plan for. Maybe making a second night or condensing the draft a bit, making pre-selected maps. There's heaps of options we can take to go forward with this tournament. I know people are a bit frustrated with how it went on Tuesday, it was Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's 1 week and it was a totally experimental thing. It'll only improve from now on. So it's positive signs looking up. But as for the quality of the games, they were pretty good. Some unexpected results. I know Masterminds went down to 10-18 on Volskaya, I believe it was. And that was kind of a surprising result, seeing 10-18 top their group. The other group was Default topping the group and Jam not making it out. But I mean, it can happen in best of ones like that. It depends on the map, depends on, some lucky shots or some unfortunate timings or whatever. But I think the group stage is more of a competitive format than just a single elim bracket. It's just timing doesn't fit at all for a 1-day comp with 20+ teams. It's pretty hard to fit all of them in.
Yeah, it was quite a big night, and there's a lot of requests with help and whatnot. The inbox was full for me, and of course there was Genome. You casted the majority of the game, so you had a big night ahead of you. So what did you think of CG on Tuesday night?
Yeah, we had some fantastic games. It was as a caster for the night, it was so much fun. There was just really, really good games all over the place. And yeah, there were a couple of interesting results. Obviously, Default getting over Jam was a bit of an upset. I really like the Jam guys. I have so much respect for CKM as a player, but they just seem to be a bit inconsistent. There are some teams complaining about you lose one game and then you don't get through the group stage. But okay, the previous tournament we were playing was single elimination. What's the difference? You lose a game, you're out.
Everyone agreed that was inherently flawed.
Yeah.
What was inherently flawed?
That it was single elim, and people already were complaining that best of one and single elim was horrible. And that's why I think, at least, that's some of the reason why they try to change it to the groups, which, I mean, it still unfortunately had the same results with at least Jam in this week. So unless 2 went out of the groups, it's going to be the same problem in that format at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, all right, if we don't talk about the format, there's a hierarchy of things, right, that you have to consider. You have to consider how long it's going to take during the night. And that's a very primary one because we've got people in WA and people in New Zealand. They're 4 hours apart, which means you can't start any sort of earlier than 7:30 because, people getting home from work in WA wouldn't be able to make it. And you sort of can't really start any later than 7:30 because then people in New Zealand are going to bed at 2 a.m. when this thing finishes, which is obviously not fair on them. So you've got that to consider, and you just go, okay, what format can we fit into that much time, which is about, maybe 4.5, 5 if you're lucky hours. And I mean, as much as it sucks, I really think the only thing you can is a single elimination tournament. Groups are good for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons we did implement it this week is so that, the teams, especially the lower teams, could get a few more games in. They weren't just getting knocked out of the single elimination bracket straight away. But you've also got to think about, what is this tournament trying to do? Who is it trying to attract? It's trying to attract the top teams. And if you want those top teams and the top talent in there, and that's a very good thing because it attracts viewers and it also attracts some of the rest of the team who want to come and compete against these guys. If you remember back to when there was only 4 teams entering, that's because the big teams weren't entering. And when the Fusion Girls or Jam Gaming at the time entered, that was a big thing and that sort of revitalized it. And that's, it's been on a bit of a steam train until now. We've got 22 teams or something.
Right, we had to cap it off.
So I think being very competitive and having the top teams in there at this point probably is a little more important than trying to cater for absolutely everybody in the community, including the lower teams. If there's something we can do for them, I want to do it. But I feel if you try and cater to them too much, you'll start losing the top teams and then you'll just lose everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So look, I honestly, I know there's a lot of problems with the original system we have, but I still think it is the best considering the constraints, which are teams want to play best of threes. So at least we've got that in the semifinals and the finals at the moment. Teams don't want to have set maps because, I mean, look at the entire Overwatch community's uproar when Blizzard started implementing that in the bigger tournaments. It was a terrible idea. Nobody likes set maps. It does make things faster, sure, but it's if you can avoid it, you don't want it.
Apex have a fantastic system, I think. Everyone likes that.
Just with how though. That's not set maps.
Yeah, well, it kind of is, in a way.
The loser chooses
out of a set group of maps in each block.
Yeah.
So each game's separated into each block, and each block has any number of maps, however they break it up. Like, for instance, the first one is for Koth, which is randomly chosen. And then from there, they move on to the loser choosing out of a set group of maps.
Right, which is good if you're playing a best of 5, because you can switch between all of the game modes and you get at the very least 3 different game modes out of the 4.
Yeah.
But with best of 1s and best of 3s, I think the predetermined map system becomes a lot less favorable.
So I had an idea, okay? So I've got an idea because Cyanide can probably only help me out or help us out on Tuesdays, which is okay because that's the night we'll have a lot of teams. If we split it up into 2 nights, Tuesdays, Wednesdays for final series, I can probably handle the production while doing casting, all that sort of shit. It's not too hard because I have all the overlays set, and all I have to do is just press different scenes. It's just a couple of keys. It's nothing really. So shout out to Gnb there. So I wanted to have it's similar to what we did all the way back with I think it was the first season of Zowie, but not using Swiss because we can fuck Swiss off. So the first night we'd have group stages, yeah. I'll get into that in a second, but everyone who advances into they'll advance into the quarterfinals on the Wednesdays, which will all be best of 3s, quarterfinals, semis, and finals. I don't know. I wanted to have the 4 teams on that make it into the semifinals to stay on the Wednesdays next week, like we used to do on Zowie. So you get rewarded for advancing further into the competition. You don't need to worry about re-qualifying and just playing either in the group stage. You can just be focusing on scrimming on Tuesdays, and then you'll be back to play in the quarterfinals on the Wednesday if you make it into the semifinals the previous week. So that way it rewards you for placing higher and you don't have to re-qualify. But if you do get knocked out in the quarterfinals in the next week, you have to go back and re-qualify. So that way people can stick to scrim schedules a lot easier and you don't have to worry about too much. So especially for, say, if Fusion Girls are doing it, you guys will be in the semifinals, probably in the you guys wouldn't have to worry about re-qualifying. You could just come up on Wednesdays, play best of 3s against the better half of the community, and that's it. The same with say teams like Tempo, Gem, Masterminds, anyone like that who has like a name to themselves, who usually perform quite well in best of 3s. They don't have to worry about re-qualifying if they do a good job and make it through to the semis. So with the group stage, if we had 4 people that would come back, that's 4 teams. If we have 6 cap it off every Tuesday, it's with 16 teams. We could do group stages, and they could all be best of 3s. Everyone plays each other once. So that means 4 teams. That means 3 rounds. It would be you're versing 3 different teams, and you could do 3 sets of best. That means 3 sets of best of 3s that night. Everyone could be playing best of 3s in the group stage. There'll be no best of 1s. So that would work in our time constraint because we could fit into 3 best of 3 games on stream, which would work.
Is that something that the Fusion Girls would be interested in? So obviously at the moment you guys haven't been playing the CG weeklies because you've thought that the Korean scrim's obviously a better use of your time. If you went with a system like that, like that old GameStar system where you're only playing a couple of the top teams on one of the nights, would you guys come back and play?
I'm sure half the team at least would want to, but probably not for the money that's on the line at the moment because it's still more valuable. I mean, we treated CG like scrimming other teams, and it's still more valuable for us to spend time playing Koreans at the moment.
What if we raised the prize pool? If I talked to Steve, aka Side Knight, and got him to raise the prize pool?
Then you might be seeing Fusion Girls enter, yeah?
All right, we'll have a discussion with Steve. So, what do you guys think about capping at 16 teams? We'll be able to have we could automatically put the 4 teams that made it into the finals this Tuesday. I'll ask everyone, or everyone, let me know with this format if you're all keen for it having just capping Tuesdays with 16 teams, 4 groups of 4 teams. Everyone plays each other in a round robin. It'll all be best of 3s. The top team from each group would advance. That way, you're not going to get gypped by best of 1s. Just be nothing but best of 3s. They will advance to the quarterfinals and meet the previous semi-finalists from the previous week's semi-finalists, which means the first time around, do I use the 4 teams that made it through this week, or do we just take the top 2 from each group and just cap it at 16? We'll just have to wait to use an extra 4 teams, the following week. What would you guys? You guys let me know who are listening to the podcast. Give me your feedback. We've still got some time until next week to change up the format and get things right. But you guys here on the podcast, obviously, give me your thoughts. Starting with you, RQD, what would you suggest?
I'd probably start it from the start, just to make it quote unquote even for everyone that does participate.
What about you, Ben?
Well, I mean, it's either that or you do 4 invites. But I think if you confirmed teams like Tempo, Fusion Girls, AT, that could be 3 invites, and then the 4th you could give to, I don't know. You'd have to look into that. But yeah, you could do invites instead. It'd just be questionable, the 4th invite, I guess. I guess those 3 teams, right? You'd expect them to see them into the semi-finals. So you could invite those 3 for the first
Just
week.
steal Heroes League's invites, Kappa.
Well, yeah. Essentially, you could just do that too. But they haven't announced their invites and probably won't. I don't expect them to announce it for a while. I don't know. Heroes League have been kind of off with information recently. Yeah. But the format is good with the best of 3s in groups. If you can fit all of those best of 3s in like an hour blocks, because basically in scrims you get 3 maps for an hour, or 2 if you're playing quick play and it's a really tight game. So you should be able to fit it as long as teams aren't tardy with the draft. But I believe the draft format's changed on CyberGamer, so it's no more 20-minute bans. So that should help a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was absurd.
Yeah.
I like the idea though. It's a very good idea. It still promotes young team growth, and it promotes top teams entering, and top teams can still scrim on the Tuesday instead of doing the groups. It's very nice, very good. The prize pool is a concern because you're investing. There's a possibility you're investing 2 nights worth of time for something like $12 each or something, because $84 is first prize or something. So I don't know.
Yeah, we'll talk.
It's something
to
that
Steve.
Cyanide would have to work on.
The reason it worked mainly with the Gamester stuff was because obviously they were competing for points for the big playoff finals, not just for one night prize money.
So I'd have to talk to Steve and see what he thinks. Eventually, this is only meant to last until we can get the league up and running.
Yeah, of course.
So this is just temporary to keep everyone active and to get all you new teams out there practice on drafting maps and playing in best of 3s, because it's a big difference just going from the best of 1 to playing in 3 sets of maps and making sure you've got 3 maps that you can play on, because you could just be a one trick that could just play King's Row or just Nepal or some shit. This way it expands your map pool, and if you go down a map, you're not out of it yet, and you still have that chance to come back and how you deal with pressure. Because I've seen your team, RQD, several, in the ESLs, you actually got knocked down to the losers bracket and come back. But if it was best of 1s, if it was best of 1s, you guys wouldn't even come back. You actually versed Ben's team here. So
we got beaten on the draft pretty much. That grand final series, a lot of that was down to draft, because they figured out our draft and what maps we could and couldn't play, and just absolutely obliterated us in the draft. So drafting is a huge part of this game. Map selection, hero pools, all that. Because some heroes are just not as viable on maps as others. So it's a huge part of the game and needs to be integrated more.
So moving on to the league format. So we'd be running a league in between. Hopefully, my vision is to have CyberGamer, a multi-divisional league, running in between big tournaments from Full Circle. So I don't know too much about their future plans. They haven't shared everything with me yet. So, but I imagine now that they're going to be having all these a lot of the other APAC teams come in now, especially from Southeast Asia, that they could be running these big tournaments that run over 4 or 5 weeks in between seasons that we could fit in with CyberGamer to keep everything moving along, so people aren't going big extended breaks. Because like last time when Spring Series ended, and then to get to this point now when Summer Series start, like we had nothing. It was just CyberGamer weeklies. We can't run a scene like that. It's just going to die if that continues. If we go through that again, I don't want to see. It's cool to see all these teams come up now, but we had so many teams fall off, and there was so much inactivity. And trying to get people to keen up every week, it's really difficult. And we don't want to go back through that process again. And now that everyone who's in the community right now are generally there because they want to play Overwatch. It's not just see if you're casual or not. There's a lot more competitive teams nowadays. So
I don't think we will have to go through that period again.
Yeah.
That was, it's initial growing pains. People aren't, especially tournament organizers, sponsors, people who are actually putting the money into this scene. They're not sure how things are going to shake out yet. A lot of us probably came in from the start and were like, yep, this is going to work because we, believed in the game, Blizzard, whatever. But people who are actually putting their money on the line, they're usually a bit more conservative about these sort of things. But now that they're seeing, Blizzard coming out with their plans about the Overwatch League, all this sort of stuff that's going to be coming from up on high with Blizzard, I think that'll probably give them a lot more faith that Overwatch is a game that's going to be around to stay. And yeah, the fact that we're building up in teams every week in the CyberGamer, and when this is really the only competition that's going on at the moment, I think is a pretty good way for the scene to be going.
Yeah. I think a lot of it just has to do with Summer Series. I think you see all these teams come along because they're interested, obviously, in this big $10,000 tournament that obviously originally had this LAN that they could maybe even go to. So I think that is a big contributing factor to why there's all these teams. And I think after Summer Series is over, I think you could expect to see a drop again. But obviously, if CyberGamer is going to come along and do their own thing, I think that might motivate people. Obviously, a lot of people are already there's top teams and top players that have been around since this game was in beta. Like, I still talk to a lot of them who still play on teams and shit. Like, Elim's been around forever. So is me and Gummer and stuff like that. So I think a lot of it, there's some motivation for these new teams that are coming up because of Summer Series, and it'll be interesting to see after Summer Series if these teams are still motivated to play or not.
Yeah, that's why I want that league to start afterwards, so we can keep this momentum going and keep those teams, because I don't want any gaps, because that's when you lose the teams. So this is, what would you guys want to see in a multi-divisional league? So I'll start things off with you, Smash. What would you want to see in a multi-divisional league? How would you like to see it run? Like, how many in Division 1, Division 2? How many divisions? What would you like to see?
Well, realistically, you'd go, depending on stability of teams, really. If they go, I think they have a disband clause on their CSGO leagues where you can't just disband teams willy-nilly, or captains get banned from stuff, or teams get banned from stuff. But I'd say like an 8-team Division 1, 8-team Division 2, or 10-team Division 2, and then an open division to qualify would be something. The scene could probably support 16 stable teams and then an open division for the rest.
Yeah.
I think that, I don't know, my aspirations for the scene in the first 6 months of this year is we get Heroes League done. So that goes up until the end of February. Then you have CyberGamer running their league, and then you have ESL, Full Circle could be running one-day comps, kind of like ESL did, with the major cups or whatever. If they threw a few of those in every now and then on the weekend, and CyberGamer runs their game nights during the week, say like a Tuesday and a Thursday or something. Most teams scrim on those nights. We could be playing 3 days of tournament games a week, which is very exciting for an Australian scene. You don't see that in very many games, you know, like Dota doesn't have anything like that. League has OPL. I'm not sure. I believe CyberGamer has run some League stuff way in the past, but it'd be an exciting prospect. And I mean, the player base is there now. If they're getting constant 20 plus teams signing up to CG every week, the want is there for these tournaments. It just needs to be provided.
What do you think, Arkiti?
Yeah, I'd say 8 for Division 1 and probably 8 as well for Division 2. Outside of that, I think it's a bit unknown, just because you don't know who's going to be around after SummerSeries or not. But I think top 8 can be pretty stable, give or take, you know, the occasional player change. I don't think many teams would be motivated to be disbanding if there's constant tournaments. So I'm sure people will be keen to keep their roster as similar as they can. And then, yeah, you have the rest in the open, obviously, for the invite stuff.
You got any thoughts, Genome, before we move on past this topic?
No, I think those guys are pretty spot on. Top 8 for Division 1. Probably look at the strength of the scene, see how many teams you want for Division 2. Somewhere between 8 and 12 would probably be about right. And then, yeah, an open division so that everyone else has got somewhere to play. You know, all this, like this team Grandmaster Lemon, right? Like, there are a bunch of guys in like silver, gold, platinum, and they're showing up every week to the CyberGamer. That's so awesome to see. And I really want there to be a place for everybody, if they've got the competitive desire, no matter how good they are at the game, to be able to go and have some even matches against someone else and really enjoy themselves. So,
that's the only way
sorry?
I was going to say, man, I wouldn't want to go up against them in a best of 1.
Scary stuff,
Spook
right?
City.
Scary stuff.
I mean, who knows what they're going to bring out? They could play fucking Bastion Sombra.
We saw that in the CyberGamer
semi-final,
semi-final.
dude. Oh,
J Doggies,
that was
wasn't
amazing.
It? J Doggies.
Oh, that was so good. The flank Bastion.
Oh my god, I can't believe that he was willing to do that shit, but it worked. He stayed there for like almost an entire minute. You waited behind a fucking corner for almost an entire minute. And the first
hidden Bastion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck me.
I'm just happy it wasn't a Sim Torb defense strat on Hollywood. Those are just atrocious. Get him out of here. Get him out.
Yeah, what are you doing, Arkiti, bringing that shit to our scene? Fucking
Dude, Koreans don't even do it. I don't know who's been telling people that's a Korean strat.
I think it's because of the World Cup, when they did all that involved against Australia.
Where it was a quote-unquote non-troll strat, they say. Okay. Look, I got nano boosted in scrims. It was fun. It was Symmetra. It was a lot of damage. It's a shit strat.
Shout out to Daddy Gunbar for nano boosting RQD even on Lucio.
Oh yeah. He's only done it twice recently. Neither are my fault. Thank you. We're getting better. We're getting better.
Well, let's talk about SummerSeries. So they had no LAN now. All these recent changes, no LAN. They opened it up to Southeast Asian, aka like APAC teams. So what are your guys' thoughts on all the changes now? Whether it's shrunk down from 6, so I'm putting all these random fingers, 6 weeks down to 4. How do you feel about this one, guys? Start with you, RQD.
Well, I'm not sure how many people in Australia would even mirror my philosophy here, but I think outside of obviously losing the LAN, you laugh, fuck you. Anyway, you lose the LAN, which obviously sucks. Everyone was excited for a LAN, but the competition just got better. And that's what I think, and that's what I've been asking Heroes League to do since full circle, since they even announced that they were going to be doing this tournament. I said, can we get C teams in? It'd be much better competition. And, they've looked into it, and obviously it's something they can do, which is really good because it does mean that it will be better competition. And that's what the tournament should be about. It shouldn't be like a free pass for some Australian teams that might not be as good as teams in the region. So
you've seen the new format, right? With the 3 groups.
The segregation at the moment.
Okay, so what do you think about that? Because obviously you're talking about, we get to play each other and stuff, but in the reality is the top 4 A and Z teams are going to face the top 2 C teams, and no one else is going to get any interplay whatsoever.
Well, they're looking to change that as well. They're looking to mix it because I spoke to them as well recently, and obviously, as I've just been saying, yeah, obviously I would like it to be mixed because that's where the competition will be. And having it segregated means you're losing a lot of that competition. So they want to do it mixed. They're just seeing whether or not it's viable for them at the moment. So hopefully, within the next, before the qualifiers come out, hopefully they have some more information and hopefully they are able to make it mixed because that would be the best they could do in terms of competition.
Well, I think there's a lot of very real concerns they have, and probably one of the reasons why they've gone towards this 3-group model is around, not wanting to shaft ANZ teams through the fear that the C teams just come in and roll over everybody else besides maybe Fusion Girls, like Fusion Girls went gone and rolled over, the Taiwan teams and that sort of thing. Like imagine if you have a top team from Malaysia and one from Singapore or something, and they're all sort of like that Fusion Girl-esque thing where they can dominate everybody else, even on 150, 200 ping. But
given my experience, I would be telling people not to worry. I think there's I think Australia is hands down the best country in the APAC region. So I don't think
Australia Day.
Yep, fucking Australia, you can't. But no, I don't think there's a number of Australian teams that have the skill to beat a fair few of the strong APAC teams. So I think, especially given they would be playing on Australian servers, which means they have 150 to 200 to 250 ping even, potentially. I don't think some of the top higher Australian teams have much to worry about in that regard.
And I guess that's another one of the issues you've got to think of, right? Like from a competitive integrity sort of point of view.
Yeah, I was begging for Singapore servers.
Yeah. But
I don't think any other Australian
started it off as an ANZ tournament, right? Which means they can't really say that no, everyone's got to play on the middle ground. You kind of they made that audience
clear to
and
me
the
as
core
well.
teams that are going to play in it are all from ANZ, so you've got to kind of cater for that.
Yeah, they made it clear that at least for this tournament, definitely people are going to be playing on Sydney, no matter what.
Yeah. And
which is fair. That is reasonable.
We're making an APAC tournament, and like that's their vision from the start. Then yeah, exactly. Use Singapore servers or like whatever middle ground between the two countries that are playing, and that'll be great. I'm super excited to see what we become as an APAC region, especially when that's Blizzard's vision for the future.
Yeah, of course.
Well, speaking of performances of teams, let's talk about the current live patch with all the meta that's shaping around now. I've seen plenty of teams, well, not plenty, the teams I saw last night when I was streaming some scrims with Doctor. We took a look at Tempo, we took a look at Diffuse, Soul Gravy Train, and one other name that's escaping me. Oh, Akami Wolfblade, so Slid's team. So it's all 4 teams that are generally quite active, and a lot of them are running 2 tanks, 2 DPS, 2 supports. So starting with you, Smash, how do you feel about the new meta shaping up?
Well, isn't it great that Diva's in the bin? Or not in the bin, but she's just not.
She's just a hero again.
Niche pick.
Yeah, she's acceptable, but not super powerful. Although Roadhog's kind of disgusting. I don't know. We had a lot of fun on it, playing mainly 2 DPS as well. Sometimes some 3 tank, but moving away from that. Personally, I moved on to a new role, so I'm playing support now instead of Ryan. So, I'm a cuck, support cuck now. But no, it was really exciting, seeing all that happening and having some cute Reaper plays and some McCree back in the action. It was really nice. I don't know how other teams went because apparently everyone's been picking just retarded stuff. Like every hero is being played at the moment except Sombra still because
very standard.
Yeah.
For when patches come out like this.
I'm really excited though to see the game going back to a more standard point of view, I guess, and not just stacking tanks and running at each other until someone's head falls off. It's pretty good.
Yeah, you can see a lot more mechanical players now, and just seeing how good someone can be aiming and just taking out someone in 2 shots. But your thoughts now, RQD, what do you think of the new patch?
Originally, I didn't think much was going to change. I think, Diva might be out, still maybe picked a bit against certain things like a soldier sitting on high ground. There's really nothing else that has ever dealt with something like that, like Diva could. And people are gonna see no D.Va for a fair bit, I'd imagine, and they're gonna be like, "Well, shit, there's a soldier just shooting on us from high ground. What the fuck do we do?" Our D.Va flies at him, but she's already dead when she gets there. So I think, as I said, originally I didn't think much was gonna change, but in our scrims last night, we actually spent 2 hours playing with 0 Roadhogs on both sides of the map, which was fucking fantastic because that hero I despise. A 7-second cooldown or 6 seconds that fucking kills anyone is just utter bullshit. So fucking oath. So I hope that hero is gone, but I don't think it is. But this meta is actually, I think, a lot more open. I think you can get away with running almost any 2-2-2 comp you'd like. I think you can get away with still running 3 tanks, 1 healer, 2 healers, 1 DPS. I think you could even see getting away with 3 DPS in a few cases. I think Reaper might be back. I'm not too sure yet. I'm a bit skeptical, but obviously one of Reaper's biggest counters was D.Va. So if D.Va is gone, maybe, you do see more Reaper. But I think this meta could be open to just a lot more, and it'll be up to individual teams to find what works more for them rather than what is the standard or meta pick.
And finally, your thoughts, Genome?
All right. Here's a question for RQC. So you're saying Roadhog you think might be a bit more out of the meta?
Not necessarily. I just think it wasn't random last night. That's all.
Okay, because obviously before the tank patch, Roadhog wasn't run as much, right? And I think one of the big reasons was everyone just saw him as this massive ult battery. And when you're running in a tank meta, the tank ultimates aren't necessarily as explosive, like a Dragon Blade, whatever, that you're not going to run in a tank meta as much. So people weren't as worried about running the Roadhog at being an ult battery. Do you think that's one of the reasons why he won't get played as much necessarily next patch?
Well, you are right. If people are more inclined to play 2-2-2 and something like picking a Genji and shit, obviously Genji didn't thrive against tanks, so you could see him already being played more. And when back when we were playing against Tempo Storm, when we first started playing triple tank with the old jam lineup, you could see these ultimates are, they're more effective against non-tanks. So it's an interesting concept you bring up. Whether or not that makes a huge impact is yet to be seen, but there is some merit in it for sure, because stuff like Tracer gets an ult off Roadhog so quickly. It's insane. Or just tanks in general, of course.
One of the other things I'm expecting this meta is to see Zen come back a lot more, not just because of Anna's nerf, but because dive comps are probably going to be a bit more prevalent, where there's a lot more squishies running around that you can just cut up very quickly with a dive comp. And obviously Zen, even in the tank meta, was on a little bit if you were running dive comps, just because of that Discord orb.
Most of them swapped towards the Anna after a few weeks, actually.
Yeah.
I still remember some being run recently.
There's a little bit of Zen, but I think a lot of them have realized, wow, Anna's still a pretty good hero. We should probably pick her. I don't know if you can justify dropping either Lucia or Anna at the moment in that capacity yet for the Zenyatta, especially if tanks are gone. I think even in a dive meta, it's not mandatory to run a Zenyatta, and you can still blow up even tanks with the right coordination pretty quickly.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
if you
think
land
just
an
both
anti-
supports. Yeah, both supports are just very strong at the moment. You can't get rid of Lucia's speed boost at the moment, and you can't get rid of Anna's healing got nerfed a bit in terms of the aura from the grenade, but she's still a disgusting healer.
I mean, you say you can't get rid of Lucio's speed boost, right? But we saw Korean teams running just
defense points, yeah, of course, I can argue. Defense 1, stuff like that. Yes, you can drop it.
And,
yes.
and what about Zen Anna on
defense
defense?
1? Yeah, I've ran that before as well on Gibraltar, defense 1.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, in that regard, sure, you might, but you wouldn't be playing dive comp really on defense unless you're lunatic high.
Nimbani.
That was painful.
Teams play a pretty dive-esque comp on defense on Nimbani.
It depends
But
what
I think
their goal is. Where our goal isn't.
So
we had D.Va Winston, which I think a lot of Australian teams ended up kind of adopting on Nimbani, which is not. We didn't play it as a dive comp. We were playing it to just control the high ground more than diving on whatever was there. But I think that strategy anyway is a bit outdated now. So especially with the patch, who knows? But yeah, In
That's the
defense,
exciting thing for everybody, right? Like,
yeah, of course. In defense one, yeah, you could drop Alicia for a Zingyao in some cases, but on attack, I'm still a bit skeptical. I think they're both very strong, and I wouldn't be dropping them personally yet.
Let's talk about roster changes now. So, with the first team I want to bring up is your team Smash. So you were another iteration of, I guess, LoveShack called Less Skilled Players, courtesy of
God, how many
Genome.
teams can this guy kill? It's insane.
Pretty
He's
successful.
been
at it,
he's
right?
been hanging out with you for too long. That's what's the problem.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the problem.
Yeah, but
WoW players, man, they're fucking snakes, I tell you.
Toxic snakes, dude.
well, you've so TJK, Cindy, Alim. I'm forgetting one more. Help me out with this one, Smash.
Oh, we had Taki for a bit.
Taki, that's-
We were trialing DPS players
Yeah.
for the last DPS slot. I don't know. We just like we'd been close with. Well, Cindy's still close with us. We're still friends with Cindy, obviously. And we thought, put it together, see how it goes. Didn't work out as planned. It's no hard feelings there. So they've Cindy and TJK have moved on to 1018, which is Alter Ego 2.0. They've primed as well, so it's kind of like a Misfits Alter Ego slam jam, and they did all right in CG this week. Lots of talent on that team. See how interesting.
Big
It'll be interesting to
masterminds.
see. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how their strats develop and all that, and see how they go. So they
Disappointed.
moved on there.
Disappointed.
Disappointed.
That team you had could have been very good given a bit more time together. It's unfortunate things couldn't work out and stay around because I really thought that team was strong.
Oh yeah, but you know how she goes.
Alim's pretty powerful. Shout outs to Alim.
Shout outs to Alim. He's another interesting case. He is all but confirmed a temporary Storm member. That team's pretty powerful as well, actually.
Oh, rest in peace, Lush. Twice kicked
Yeah.
from Tempo.
just like the other 4 members that have been confirmed, huh?
Yeah,
exactly. Oh, dude, don't.
so confirmed it's not confirmed.
So
We
looking-
played last night with Tails, PB, Igo, Hey Katie, and Evie.
Mhm.
We had some incredible fun, which was the main thing we got out of last night, and it'll be interesting. Everyone's like really positive about it and stuff, so hopefully we'll be able to get that roster together and get some good practice before Heroes League and put up a result.
What are you going to go
Igo's
with your
not back
name?
from Vietnam, right?
Nope.
Igo is playing from Vietnam, but okay, it's the thing about Igo.
He's got
right?
mudfish though, Woo, mudfish.
Yeah, he's mud fishing. He asks Gunbar or Serenity for nodes every like 10 seconds.
Oh,
It's annoying
God.
as shit.
Like,
Like, how has Gumba not got Mudfish to sponsor Fusion? Like, you guys should be like the Mudfish girls by now. Like, the
working
amount
on
of
it.
like business and like promotion you have given them is insane.
One thing I want to say about young
good
Igo
program.
Stripe is he is a phenomenally talented player, and we saw that in
He is.
ESL too.
Yeah.
But the only problem with him is his mouth, and if you can control his mouth, you have a Huwu, you have a Kiki tier player in Igo Stripe. So I don't know. We had a lot of fun. It's 4 members from old LoveShack. It's just minus Money and Syria plus
LoveShack.
Hey KD and PB. So I don't know what we're gonna do for names wise. We might keep the Shack, but
Come on, go back to the shack, please. Please go
Yeah,
back
maybe.
to the shack.
we're kind of lazy to change Discord pictures, so it might just say that.
yeah. Well,
Side note, like, I'm so happy that PB and Jam has come back to Overwatch because, like, most of the Aftermind guys have obviously they've gone to play Paladins now, but PB and Jam is just such a phenomenal player. Like, anyone who watched that final series of the GameStar Spring series, he was so good. And, like, that's right. We all voted him as MVP, right? Like, he was such a killer Winston. He was like Australia's own, like, mini Miro. And I'm super, super glad that he's come back to Overwatch. So shout out to PB and Jam.
He feeds a lot less than I do.
Tails as well. He's another very good player. That unfortunate that things didn't work out for him in Tempo Storm, but it's
Someone
good.
might not agree.
Yeah.
Some like look
That'd be
on
good.
Tails, right? Tails has been like Tails. Everyone was talking about Tails in LoveShack. It's like, oh my god, he's the best hit scanner in Australia. He's fucking amazing. He's a god, and he genuinely was. Like, he carried the fuck out of us on most of those maps. Him and Money especially, like, they carried the fuck out of us. But I don't know. He was super excited to play with Tempo and Fusion girls. Unfortunately, both of them didn't work out, and he was pretty bummed about that. But I don't know, if you give Tails confidence and you give him like the right atmosphere, that guy is fucking incredible. But if he doesn't get the right atmosphere, then sometimes he can just go a bit quiet, which is unfortunate because he has so much raw talent and he's like a really fun player to play with. So hopefully he's found his home again and we'll see some huge results from him.
I really hope that too.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is actually a standard for these DPS players to not speak as much as other roles, which is understandable in some regards because, you know, someone's got to shoot those heads. Someone's got to focus on shooting heads. But, man, like, you look at Yuki in this regard, someone who is an insane DPS player, well, just an insane Overwatch player, but insane hit scan or projectile. You put him on anything, doesn't matter. But he also communicates so well. And that is like an underrated aspect of Yuki. I think that people who haven't played with someone like that don't understand how insane it is to have someone who's that skilled and still communicates. A lot of the time it's one or the other. And Tails was obviously, I don't know if people know, he was originally going to be our sub until we realized we could get Huss. We didn't not get Tails because we thought he was bad or anything. I still think that guy's mechanics are insane. Just worked out we were able to get Huss, that's all. But yeah, Tails is a solid player, and it'd be good if he could speak more. But you know, at the same time, not every DPS does speak. So
I think Tails has an amazingly high skill ceiling, and if you're not picking him up, like, I feel like you're not recognizing that, and I think honestly that was a big mistake by Tempo Storm. Like, no disrespect to Soundwaves, I think Soundwaves is a solid player, but I don't think he has the skill ceiling that Tails has, and I feel like Tempo are going for, like, it's like an immediate payoff thing rather than like sticking with someone who is going to be like fucking transcendently amazing at some point in the future. Because like Tails hasn't had a huge competitive history from I know. So this guy, like, once he learns to, you know, he works on his communication a bit, and like, you know, yeah, because obviously his mechanics are they're just like super top tier right now, right? So he's like, he shapes up a little bit in those other areas, and like he's gonna be so goddamn good. And I think if they don't see that, they're probably thinking a little short-sightedly.
Talking about another player that is goddamn good, that is Huwu, who is now finally found his way onto a team. It is the Yes Men, so you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, or anyone at the podcast. Sorry if you're listening. Sorry if I get some of the players wrong, but it's Switch, Huwu, USMC, and then I'm already bombing out on the rest.
Molotov,
Molotov, of course.
Senverse, and Will One.
Yeah, so most of those guys I remember from CGs. They came through like the CGNs, the Custom Game Nights with Watchpoint Oceania. So I guess that's like who wants to play with, people who's comfortable with. But all those guys are quite talented. Like most of them are Grandmaster, and you know, they're quite solid. They found them. We had problems like with CG where they should have been playing a tiebreaker, but we just had time constraints. And you know, it was originally a test. It wasn't to see like who was the best team, but see if the format works. But that's another team that are on the horizon now of making their way up towards the top tier of teams in our region. So what do you guys think? Think of the Yes Men, starting with you, RQD.
Anyone who doesn't think Who is a fantastic player is probably kidding themselves. The guy might not speak as much as other people, but his mechanics, like Tails, or like, you know, a lot of these people are just insane. He's a fantastic player, and unfortunately, I don't see that team being the best environment for him to like really reach his potential. So I'm not too confident how far that team will go in its current form, but there are fantastic players on the team for sure. There's no doubt about that.
What are some of the players that you could point out, Smash, on that team? How do you feel about the Yes Men?
Oh, I think they have some real good talent there. Like Huwu and Molotov are incredible players. Molotov was part of the original Cuck Smashers roster that came through CG, and he is super talented. Unfortunately, he lives in Whoop Whoop and a share house with like 40 other people, so his internet is absolutely garbage. But Will One is also a good DPS player. He played a lot of ranked games. He has a diverse hero pool. That team needs to figure out what lineups they want to run and just stick to it. When we scrimmed them, they ran a lot of different stuff, including some squeaky robots, which was kind of annoying but didn't really work out. I don't know, like that team has talent. It's just if they get the right brains, like you look at an Overwatch team, right, and you have people with brains to do the thinking and the strat development and all that stuff, and then you have the raw talent players. So look at Fusion Girls, right? They have Arcudi and Gunber as the brains, unfortunately, and then they have Trill, Atar, Kiki, those big name DPS players as
Hey,
the
don't forget E.
talent. Oh, E, dude, I forgot about E, but he's actually probably the best player in the country.
Yeah, he's pretty good at shooting people.
And yeah, you see that works so well because Gunber and RQD can develop these strategies and develop these, lineups that those players can excel in. But I think the big problem with Yes Men is that the brains on the team don't develop the strategies to get the most out of their players. And if they can do that, if they can figure out how to get the most out of their players, they'll be very, very strong.
And then we've got another up-and-coming team, which is, we call it Alter Ego 2.0, which is 1018. How do you feel about those guys, Genome?
1018. So a lot of the talk I've been hearing about 1018 was, it's all these very mechanically skilled players or individually skilled players at least, but they didn't necessarily know how to work together as a team. Now they've got Nectar, obviously, that guy's fantastic. TJK, he's a very good player. Well, memes. Cinderella, Joyboy, and Kura. So, look, I think they're going to do very well if this is the lineup that they decide to run in the Summer Series. I don't know if they'll be able to make top 4. I feel like they probably have to do quite a bit of growing. They've definitely got the talent to get there, but do they have the kind of level-headed people who are willing to scrim really hard, to take an honest look at where their problems are, what they need to improve on, and work super hard on that, like Ancient Templar do, right? That's one of the reasons why Ancient Templar have got so good so quickly, I think, is because they do a lot of they scrim a lot. They go over those scrims and just look at all the little things that they can fix to just get better and better and better. And I don't know, I have to wonder if maybe 1018's got a bit too much ego on there, and if that is going to stop them working together and really... I feel like you need to be at least somewhat humble to be the best, because you need to accept what is not perfect about your play and try and improve that to get better. If you think you're the best already, you're not going to get any better.
True.
I'd agree. I'm not sure if the attitude's great in that team, but I fucking love Cindy, so I hope they do well. But he passed up being on Fusion Girls, so fuck him.
Well, we've got Monopoly Club, which is Tree Men, with they drop Dark Light for Gob. And then there's also Default. They're the two teams in the CyberGamer Weekly Grand Final coming up on this Sunday at 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. That's a cheap plug. But Arcudi, with Default and the new version of Tree Men Monopoly Club, what do you think about those two teams?
Some of the people on Monopoly Club are really solid. I think they're obviously a lot of them are comp players, but people like Micro. I think Micro is a pretty underrated guy. I think he's very, very good at this game, and even playing Pugs with that guy, I could see it. I hadn't really played with him before playing Pugs, and I told him to play Reinhardt in one game, and then this in the next, and he was really good. So I think that team has already just looking at the roster, there's the mechanical skills there on a number of them. It'll have to be whether or not their brains is up to where their mechanical skill is in the future. I could see them doing pretty well in the future. And Default, I'm not too sure about much of that team, unfortunately. I don't really know many people.
So they've pretty much just shot out of nowhere. And they've been showing up to the CG the last couple of weeks. They scrim quite often, so they started to get some results. So they'll be playing against Monopoly Club this Sunday. If they pick up the win on up against those guys, they'll be one of those teams to look out for as a dark horse leading into future competitions.
Who did Default win in groups? Do you know?
They beat 1018.
They beat Jam.
They beat Jam.
Default beat.
Jam. Yeah, they went 4-0.
They
Yeah,
probably
beat-
beat both then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they beat
Interesting.
10-18. They were very close though. 10-18 almost beat them. That was a best of
Okay.
went all the way to the third map. It was very
Right.
close.
Great game.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, they
It'd be
they got
interesting
micro.
to see how they go in the future then. But I'd expect Monopoly Club to take that one out, just looking at the rosters.
Yeah. And there's a couple of teams on the horizon, which is Bukaka's just been formed with Skull, Claves, and Trace. There's a couple of other guys in that team as well. We've got WM1 now that are coming together. Even Eben have picked up Vitania and Bachu. So what do you guys think about Eben's new pickups?
Big trade-ups.
After playing with Bachu for a while and coming with him, he's a really good player. Like people kind of know him as a bit of a Genji one trick, but he's really worked on his hero pool. He had a really good hog at one point, and he's been working on Soldier now. I think he is another player, kind of like Micro, kind of like even Huwu to an extent, that if you put him in a team with good brains and good leadership, then he'll do really fucking well. So hopefully the leaders of Eben can step up and provide the right environment for him. Vitania was part of the Alter Ego group, and he played really well in Alter Ego, to his credit. He played a very good Tracer, and he's been working on his Soldier too. The fact that there's not 3 tanks, 4 tanks anymore will really help them. But, I mean, it's just a test to see like how Satiric adapts to the honor role, and the Mr. Saigoon, the Reinhardt player, he's pretty good. So I think they'll go right.
He's a great guy.
I actually think they might be a top 8 contender for SummerSeries if they play their cards right.
Yeah, especially those two pickups. So it's all about. It's like what you said. I think it's all comes down to the shot calling and the leadership in that team, and being able to utilize those new pickups because they're fantastic talents. So is any other?
I'm not sure how permanent it is though, because Mason is going to England or something during SummerSeries, which is one of the reasons why they got one of them. So I'm not sure if he is going to come back into it, and if he is, then like who goes away from that. But I'd imagine they stick with Vitania and Butcher because they're both great.
Well, Vit and Bachu are good friends, so I'd imagine if one of them leaves, the other one will follow. So it's kind of like a dual package. But let's think about some other. Before we move on to any other topics, any other teams that you guys want to bring up that are worth mentioning on the podcast that you feel like should be us taking a look at?
AT is pretty solid. They're not going to do anything. Masterminds and Jam, they're locked pretty much.
Yep.
Don't see them doing anything.
Sweatshop
Tempo
will probably
is-
be a solid Div 2 team.
Yeah, they're on the rise.
Sweatshop are good. Tempo I'm not sure if they've confirmed their roster now. After
Did Tempo play in CG?
No,
No.
they didn't. They were going to scream PTR, but then PTR was down, so they just took the night off instead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think they were just done with the patch, the 4 tank patch. I think they were actually just done with it.
Yeah, well, watching them run 4 tank, I'd say they're not too great because that comp is garbage and only American teams run it, and it's got a shit win rate.
Was it 33%? It was
It's just
6%.
shocking. I don't
It's
like.
fucking disgusting.
Man, there's people like Americans just complaining about this comp, and it's like you're the only people running it. It's garbage. It's fucking shit. Stop. It was one comp that was ran against like dive comp. It works alright against dive comp because dive comp tries to kill people and tanks us, pretty hard to kill. But they just like adopted it as this fucking mainstream comp, and like it's shit. Everyone in like there was a tournament like Dr. AT was in like recently an American tournament. Unfortunately they lost like first round to some DCs or something as well, but everyone in that tournament running 4 tanks, everyone in Winter Premiere running 4 tanks. It's like, stop running 4 tanks, it's shit. Sorry, that's my 4 tank rant.
Oh, he's got that out of his system. Well, at least we don't have to worry about 4 tanks anymore. That patch is done and dusted, and we can move on to actually watching good Overwatch for a change, because 4 tanks is shit to watch, shit to cast, just shit all around. Like there's no versatility in your lineup at all. You're just these big chunky fucking characters, and it's just who can Roadhog hook in first and throw the biotic grenade on and kill them off, and then we got a 5v6. Then you rush in. It was just
3 tank was actually pretty interesting because there was multiple iterations of it. You know, there's people who like to run Hog Soldier, there are people who like to run Zai Tracer and Zai Genji and all these other crap. Like, despite it being like this 3 tank 1 DPS lineup, it was a little flexible at least. Otherwise, like 4 tank, it's just shit.
Do you think we'll see the 3 DPS lineup now that the tank meta's gone away, or is that only something that was run in response to the tank meta?
I'm still like, this just goes back to obviously what I think of the meta at the moment. I think you could see anything from still running 3 tank to running 2-2-2 to running, yes, maybe 3 DPS in some situations. Until, like, you know, everyone, even like tier 1 Korean teams flesh out their what they want to play. You'll see Apex this coming week in 5 days. It'll be pretty interesting to see what they're running. Like, one of the team we scrimmed last night will be playing on the 5th in 5 days as well. So it'll be interesting to see if what they played against us yesterday night is what they will be playing in Apex, to see if it's, you know, even the same as that, because no one knows what to play yet. Even if you've scrimmed a bit of PTR, I think you'll still have to wait and see.
So just on tanks and stuff in general, I don't know, playing last night in scrims and stuff, we saw a lot of Big Daddy Winston. Like, he was coming out all over the shop.
Yeah, we played Winston as well.
Yeah, I think that might be a viable option for that 3 DPS combo. We played against 3 DPS, but Fusion Girls ran it months ago in the 4 tank meta, and it was pretty strong, where they had the Widow for Eat-Up, the Genji, and the Tracer, and then they had D.Va on Kiki because it was fucking Kiki.
Oh yeah, our triple DPS lineup.
Yeah, I mean, that was still pretty strong in that patch, right? It still caused a lot of issues because, you know, we were 4 tank monkeys, but...
Yeah, we were just trying to see what Misfits were doing, because they were running all this crazy horse shit. So it seemed like, and they did well with it. So we were like, maybe we can try that. We've got these players that can play these things. And yeah, it had some pretty good effects. Also, not so good results, but, you know, that's life. It'll be interesting to see if something like that is viable now that there's less tanks and there is a bit more pick potential in these squishy heroes.
While Genome's gone to go get himself a drink, what do you got? I want to know about, how did you end up meeting Gumba? So, like, you guys have been together before you played Overwatch together, and then also you can rope in Smash, because I've been told some tales about Smash playing well with you guys as well. So I want to hear the story.
I first met the lovable Red Rooster eating Gumba in Cataclysm, which was, when was the release date of this?
Just 2010?
No, I mean of one of the raids. 2011. So I've known Gumba since 2011 in a guild called Red Sun, we first met. And since then, like, we were obviously probably the two of the best players in that guild, and we guild hopped pretty much straight from there to another guild, which we then guild hopped to another guild, and then we guild hopped to another guild. Then Gumba stopped playing, and I kept guild hopping. And then I was in, like, the best guild in Australia for a while, and then Gumba started playing again in the shitty guild on my server, and I'm like, hey, why don't you come play with me? And he's like, nah, that's fucking gay. But then he eventually did. So that's, yeah, as I said, I've known him a long time, since raiding a long time ago. And he played a little bit with Ben in one of the guilds we guild hopped to. I actually guild hopped from one of the guilds we went to back to a guild we went from. So
bloody WoW players.
I wasn't with Gumba when he was playing with Ben, but they only played for a short amount of time anyway. But Ben's shit at WoW, so, you know, whatever.
US first, dude. Just
yeah, all that game is guild hopping. It's great.
So
you don't build the personal relationships. You don't really care where you are as long as you're getting results.
It's 20 people. Like, you just want to play with the best players at that point. There's no emotional investment into like 19 people. It's just unreasonable.
Yeah.
Well, how did you guys become close then? Like, after guild hopping together, how did it get to the point where you're like, yeah, let's start an Overwatch team?
Just similar personalities. I played multiple games with Gumba now, and yeah, we went through these phases. If we weren't playing a game together, we wouldn't fucking talk to each other for months. But yeah, one day we just started playing quick play, and like we had 6, like the original Untitled spreadsheet. Nice cider. we were originally 6 WoW players. Like I don't know how many people know or have even remembered us being Untitled spreadsheet with Trollin, Raz, Refs, me, and Mosh. But yeah, it was 6 WoW players just playing together, and that's, I think I was one of the ones who was pushing for us to play in a tournament. Gumbo was like, dude, we fucking suck. There's no way we'd do well. And then like we entered a tournament with 0 scrims and became second to Chiefs. So we're like, maybe we can do something with this. So yeah, that's how we kind of made that team.
Was this true that Jam was the team that was telling you guys to sign up originally to the Jamsters? Is that a thing? Is that an actual?
Well, it sounds like something Jim Ebb might have been saying just so he could fucking bait us into losing to them, but obviously that didn't work because we beat them, I think, the first tournament we entered.
Yeah.
But everyone wanted us to sign up because everyone just thought we were these fucking retards shit-talking quick play. And like, we'd be the 6 stack and like, well, yeah, they weren't wrong. We are retards and we shit-talk. But, well, we did at least. But, yeah, it was weird because all these teams thought we were just retards and we weren't good at the game, but would beat them like in quick play, and they'd be like, "Oh, we were trying." It's like bullshit. You were fucking trying. So we did just translate that into tournaments, and once again we shut on them there. So it was good. It was validating.
So it's come a long way from the old 2 Winston, 2 Tracer, 2 Lucio to where we're at now.
Oh god, Chiefs fucking shat us so fucking hard with that. It was rape. We're like, oh god, these Chiefs guys are fucking nothing. We'll shit on them too. Whew, we got fucked that best of 3. I promise you that. The first time we beat them was on like Route 66 in this fucking 10-minute overtime with like 4 Tracers running back to the card.
Oh my God.
That was actually one of the best games. I think Jim Ebb and Dozzle were the ones who actually casted that. And like, that was actually an insane game. And that was the first time we beat them, and it was a fucking colossal struggle, but we did it.
Yeah.
But holy shit, 2-2-2 meta was awful with Tracer Winston Lucia.
Yeah, it was stupid. I don't know what Blizzard were thinking at the time, allowing that to be picked. So it's coming. The game's coming along nicely. So before we think about wrapping up or any final thoughts, was any topics that you guys want to bring up?
Not really.
What are you doing tonight, Drew?
I'll probably be talking to you on Discord, mate. Getting drunk.
How do you think the Australian teams are going to go against some of the top APAC teams?
If it's mixed, you want to go first, Benjamin?
I mean, Masterminds and 2 Minutes 1 Noodle played on the Taiwan tournament, and I'm not sure if they were mud fishing correctly, and they still had some good results. Like, they didn't get dumpstered by everybody. They played some good teams. They took some maps off some good teams. So I assume that on...
That was just Taiwan, right? So, like, we're talking Taiwan, Singapore, Indonesia, Vietnam, Malaysia.
Okay. From what
I
I've
think,
heard...
unfortunately, most of the teams will be from,
Philippines.
like, Taiwan or, like, Hong Kong, stuff like that. Like, the big APAC region in terms of Overwatch is... If I had to not only, like, rank them, but just mention them, I think it'd be Australia, then, like, I think Taiwan. There's a number of decent Taiwan teams that have these freak players on them. If they did what Australia's done, where they just kick people until they have like this insane 6-player team, they would be insane because there's people like Bacon Jack, Bacon Jack, who plays on SYF, who literally carries 5 people by himself. Mui as well. Zonda's like Zonda's fantastic as well. Like, these people are mechanically just freaks. And if they made a team together and still had like some semblance of strategy, they would utterly shit on people, I think. But luckily for us, they haven't done that. So I think Taiwan is one of the bigger regions, and like Japan, I don't think Japan will actually be in SummerSeries. I think I was talking to someone who said they actually classify under a different branch of Blizzard, so they haven't been able to liaise with them in time for the tournament. Which is weird because I thought all APAC would just be together, but apparently it's spread out, and I trust them because they're the ones who've been organizing it. But I think a lot of it you'll see a lot from Taiwan because at least Serenity is going to be trying to help them out and get them signed up if he can.
And steal your money?
Well, yeah, he's still got our $12 million of invisible Taiwan money.
Monopoly money.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I mean, BlizzCon hasn't even been paid out yet, I'm pretty sure. So I think we'll be waiting a while since that was a Blizzard run and Taiwan event.
Wait, BlizzCon, like the World Cup, hasn't been paid out to players.
I do not believe so. No.
Well,
It's usually 3 months for.
I think it's been just that now. I think,
Holy
if
shit.
not a bit longer.
we need to get. We better get an answer for someone who played in the World Cup squad. So get it.
Where's Muselk?
You just ask Jackson or
I
Cora.
think, well, yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe people have been paid, but I don't think Dest has, who, I don't know if people know, he played on the Singapore team.
Yeah.
Another person I know from WoW.
What do you think about the future of Overwatch in APAC, Bobby?
What I think about it. As long as we have people in the community that want to keep pushing and help the community, then it's going to go somewhere. But if you have people that just kind of give up, then we're not going to go anywhere. But we have CyberGamer on our side. We have Full Circle. I don't know too much about ESL, but I imagine they'd want to do something. And then with Blizzard having a combine and then allowing the APAC be a region itself and have franchise teams within the APAC region, that's a pretty good sign that they're going to put money into our region. So it all depends on Blizzard, because it's just the trickle down effect. Because
well, they just fronted 20K for a Heroes of the Storm tournament.
Yep. So that's a good sign for Overwatch, where we have a lot more interest when there was nothing going on. We had more interest in Overwatch than we did with Heroes of the Storm when there was money being thrown at it. So I think Overwatch it's going to go somewhere. It's all about just weathering the storm, what we have been doing the past several months. But 4th February, we have the Full Circle SummerSeries coming up, and it's going to be interesting. And I'm really excited to...
That's qualifiers, right? On the 4th?
Yeah, on the 4th. It's the
Alright, you
first
scared me for a
qualifiers.
second, because we're in a Hong Kong tournament on the 4th. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, so... Yeah, it's all good.
Are you trying to confirm your invite, RQT?
Oh, no. Who knows? Who knows? Can't say anything.
Will you be changing your name for SummerSeries?
I'm a fusion girl through and through. My blood, my friend.
Who came up with the
Sticking to
name?
guns.
Who came up with the name Fusion Girls?
I am a little... Well, dude, that name is sick.
It was a draft process, right?
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, we like had like 15 names like in a spreadsheet. I just wrote them all down, and we took turns banning them. Some of them were just utterly inappropriate that were never going to be fucking picked, because holy shit, then we would have to change our name. But yeah, we got it drafted down to Fusion Girls, and then we drafted the avatar, and then I made the avatar, and it's just ridiculous. Obviously, it's a bit of a meme, but like, I think people need to appreciate that we are a serious team, and I think our results have proven that.
So,
But back to APAC, I'm a little concerned with the whole Overwatch League in terms of their participation into the region. Obviously, that's just a wait and see what's going to happen, because right now nobody knows a thing in terms of APAC, Overwatch League. In terms of the actual teams right now and how they're going, people need to understand that, as I said, I'm not making this up when I legitimately believe Australia is the strongest country in APAC right now. So even though teams lose to Masterminds or lose to us or lose to Grand Lemon or whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, people need to understand that this country, or maybe people don't lose to them, but this country is pretty good at Overwatch. And I can't attest to other games because, my quote-unquote esports background has been fucking World of Warcraft raiding. So I'm not sure how Australia's been in other games with Counter-Strike and stuff like that, and LoL.
Pretty good at Counter-Strike. LoL, we've got Chiefs made it to IEM. They've made it to like wild cards a couple of times to get into Worlds, but Counter-Strike, we've got 2 international teams like Renegades and Winterfox. They're doing quite well. And then Chiefs and Atletico.
Maybe there's that one or
towards it
two
as well.
team, but
I
I
mean,
think
Renegades
a lot
are
of
like barely top 20.
Yeah, they'll make it. Yeah, but
that's what happens when they have a WoW
They're not
player on their
major,
team,
right?
man. They got a WoW player.
Yeah, they got a WoW player. That's toxic.
so
Yam.
Yeah.
He's
He's
really
a-
good at WoW.
I saw him
Yeah,
play
he's good,
Overwatch.
yeah.
I was playing Overwatch with him.
Yeah, he was playing a bit of Overwatch with Raz a while back.
Yeah.
'Cause-
I ran into both of them.
Yeah, like he knows. Yeah, a few of like the people I raid with and stuff like that. I've known him for a little bit as well now. But yeah, Karandus as well. He raids. He was a 1.6 player. Those were pretty good friends, him and Yam. But Yeah, Australia is good at Overwatch, even if, we're the best team or whoever's the best team. It doesn't matter. Like, this country as a whole is actually pretty damn good at this game, I'd say, at least compared to who we can play against. And, like, obviously, our team plays against Korean teams, and we do pretty well against Korean teams. And that means Australian teams, are still pretty good. If sometimes we have a hard time against an Australian team, like LoveShack or Alter Ego and ESL, like, we're not unbeatable. And obviously Korea proves that when Lunatic High can run 3 DPS and make us feel very bad. But, the country's good at this game. That's the end of that rant. TLDR.
I mean, big caveat there. This is scrim results. It's not tournament results. And I know scrim results are indicative, but they are not everything. I mean, you can look at so many other esports and find teams who are good on paper and they're favorites going into tournaments because they do perform well, but they don't perform when they're under pressure. And
hey, Lunatic High said we should enter APAC. Let me have this moment.
yeah, right. And that's great. It's a good sign, but like there's still question marks until you go up against them in a tournament.
Oh, dude, we get raped in scrims, and it feels bad. It feels real bad, and that's only scrims. Obviously, I think you can say stuff like that, but you got to understand, like, if this was in a tournament or at LAN, maybe we'd even do better since we'd have 5 ping instead of 200.
Yeah, you do have that, but I wish you guys all the best. I hope that you guys become the best team in the APAC region, right? That nothing would make me happier, but I
APAC
really
doesn't
hope
actually
we do
include Korea, though.
Yeah,
APAC's just.
I really do hope that we get the chance to see you guys against some of those international teams in a LAN setting.
Yeah, we'd love it, obviously. Unfortunately, Apex is Korea only, so unless we have a jet and a house,
Right.
it's going to be a bit hard to do.
Well, time will tell. As long as I'm lurking around this community, I'll make sure there's competitions to come, and we've got the Combine coming up halfway through the year, so that's going to throw a spanner in the works. So what happens to both of your teams? Like, what happens if people get dragged in through the Combine? Like,
I'll just have to kill another team and steal people.
The funny thing is, he's not even joking.
Yeah, it's sad.
Well, Ben, do you think would you be aiming to just get? I guess like every player would want to aim to get through to the Combine.
I don't see an Australian person except Yuki getting through this Combine until it reaches APAC. Yeah.
No,
It's only US at the moment, right?
The Combine's
already
dude.
US and EU, yeah. PE.
Something like that.
No, on the website it says Global Combine.
Yeah, the Combine is global. I'm saying people who make it out of the Combine, maybe Yuki gets out in terms of an Australian player. I don't see other Australian.
Question. Everybody, who is your... Okay, say if people did get through, did make it onto teams, who are your top 5 picks to get through the Combine?
Yuki?
BobbyJ. Okay. Aki
You go start with him.
Yuki, Atar and Eatup are just freak mechanical players, so I don't even know how the Combine's going to work, but I could see those 3 as being just exceptional. I wouldn't give you a top 5, but I'd be confident with those 3.
Where are you guys?
All right. I'd clearly Yuki. That one's pretty easy. I could potentially say Huwu. He's 16 years old and he's already that talented. Imagine what he's like in another 2 years.
Is it legal for him to go? Do you have to be 18?
He'd be 17. 17,
Oh,
I
okay.
think. He'll be 17 by the time the Combine comes around, I imagine. I could see him. He's so young. He's got a future ahead of him. He doesn't have any. So the older you get, so in your 20s, you have girlfriends or boyfriends, or you have jobs. He's 16. He can play this game pretty much as long as he wants. He's just got school, but if he's that good, he'd be like, fuck high school. I'm gonna go make some fucking money. So I you don't know, man. I think he has less commitments in his life other than school. I think. The sky's the limit for someone. If you're 16 and you're that good at this game, look at what happened with League of Legends with someone like Bjergsen who was 16. I mean, as soon as he came in, he started destroying everyone in EU and in NA. I think, with as time progresses, if he applies himself to this game and matures, he could be someone to make it out. And I don't know who else. I think we always talk about DPS players and all these highlight reel players, but we don't talk about anyone who's a shot caller. So,
hard to measure that on paper, though.
Exactly. So you can't make a team without shot callers. So that's going to be the big thing that I'm going to be looking at when the combine comes through. So when you make all these teams together, what about language barriers as well? So you're going to have to be very careful with the teams you draft.
Well, everyone in Australia speaks English, right? That's a massive advantage.
Yeah, but if you're going overseas and
not when the Korea overlords come out.
Yeah,
there are so many good Korean players. It is just insane.
Exactly. So
the Overwatch League sponsored by Korea.
So it might be a good idea if you want to get far in Overwatch. You might want to learn Korean.
Going.
Yeah.
What about you, Ben? Who would you pick to go through?
For players,
these guys are pussy out and haven't even given me 5. So
look, Yuki,
pressure's on you.
I'm gonna give you a few. All right, I'll give you 5. Yuki, Atar, Eat Up, top 3. Trill and Mosh. Big Mosh. He's a mute, but he's a good unit. But the thing is, that combine system is so fucking flawed. Like, it's disgusting. Because, I mean,
we don't even know what it is yet.
It's so fucking... who knows how
after
it's
the
going to be
details they gave us, right, that you can assume that they throw fucking... Okay, say 50. They throw 50 kids in a room with computers. They watch them play. They see their ratings. They see their history. And then they pick them up for a team, right?
What?
But you could have... That's the thing.
Dude, it's like going to like an abattoir or like a sales yard and just picking out the fucking livestock. That is out of stupid. Are they seriously doing that? They're not going to ask anyone who's been paying attention to the scene. Why would they not
recruiting teams? They're recruiting players.
I honestly think a lot of that was marketing spin because so obviously they're trying to market it to these traditional sports team owners, right? And in America, there's the NFL. NFL has a massive combine. Everyone goes and does their like 20-meter sprints, their like standing jumps, and they've got all these like things that they can measure someone's like physical prowess on. And the thing is, they think that maybe they can do something like that with Overwatch and quantify people's gaming skill in the same way. And I don't know if it'll actually end up being like that. I feel like a lot of what comes down to who gets picked on the team will be on more traditional avenues like skill rating, how they've performed in an internationally recognized, a top-level team beforehand. Like Blizzard have said that skill rating, the things they're taking into account on like this is what it says on the website. Like the things they're taking into account on who goes into the combine are skill rating, your performance in tournaments, and like your experience as a competitor, right? So I reckon honestly that was just sort of like.
None of that favors Australia, by the way.
Sorry?
None of that at all favors Australia because Australia's SR is shit.
Yeah, that's true.
Whether they take into consideration Australia's tournaments, unknown. Probably not. Whether, like, the Combine does not help Australia at all. I'll just put it that way because no one has a good SR in Australia except maybe, like, the 4.5k players, and that's like 3 people.
The Kuwu.
I think exactly
4.6.
And I think some of those guys would possibly do well. So for my 5, I mean, obviously Yuki, right? Like everyone, there is no disagreement
Yuki's pretty good.
On the fact
that
Yuki is the best player in Australia. He is a star, okay, and he's gonna do fine. I wrote an article before the World Cup, right? On discussing all the choices for who was going to get picked for the World Cup, and I said in that article like Yuki's going to go overseas. He is going to get picked up by like an overseas organization after this because they're going to see how good he is, and lo and behold, that's going to happen. So he's number 1, obviously. I honestly think Huss has got a good chance because Huss has a very high skill rating, which Blizzard are going to look at for the Combine, and apart from that, he has the deepest. As far as I know, I think he honestly has. If you averaged someone's skill, not skill rating, just skill across every hero in Overwatch, I think Huss would possibly be the highest average skill player in Australia. He is so good with so many heroes.
Yuki still beats him there, unfortunately.
I'd put Trill above him too. Trilly Bear's
Trill and
pretty fucking good at the game.
Yeah. Yuki can play anything, legit.
But
anything.
But you're right.
Maybe.
You're right.
Trill can also
Huss is
play
very good.
so much shit. It's insane.
Trill would be another person I put in my top 5, just because the fact that he was he was a Genji one trick, right? We called him this at the start. Then he went to Reinhardt. That's like pretty much like as opposite as you can go. And he is now like one of the best Reinhardt players.
I'd say he's the
Australia.
best in Australia.
He's the best Ryan. Definitely the best Ryan.
There's so much
That's
he's
what we
learned
said on
from
our podcast. You said Mosh was the best Reinhardt.
Yeah, you
Mosh is
liar.
the best defensive.
Yeah, you're
Reinhardt.
lying to me, Ben. What's going
No,
on
Mosh
here?
is the
Just
Credit-
like comes on
credit-
your podcast and lies. He could be doing
Oh
it to
my
you, Bobby.
God.
Get rid of him. Get him out of here.
Ban that
changes
idiot.
his roster. Not even playing Reinhardt
Get
anymore.
kills
Like, what's the
teams.
point? What's the
Who
point?
is this guy? No, Mosh is the best defensive Reinhardt. Like, killing Mosh is fucking a task and a half. Like,
Yeah.
teams don't even bother focusing Mosh anymore because it's just like, why bother? But Trill is definitely the best offensive /
I
enables
think just
his team
overall,
the best.
like
Yeah.
the Korean Reinhardts are very fucking good. They're probably some of the best people on those teams are their Reinhardts, and there's a lot you can learn from them, and he has learned a lot. Unfortunately, we get earth-shattered a lot because Trill has like 200 ping. He's like, I fucking blocked that on my screen. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm sure you did, but we're all on the ground because your ping's shit.
Nah, he's just telling you that every time. It's
Yeah,
a
he's
lie.
just lying to
It's a
me.
lie.
I got outplayed, but I blocked it. I promise you.
Yeah. Look, I
Trill's fantastic as well. If I had to go with top 5, I'd put him 4th, and I wouldn't give you a 5th.
going back to what Bobby said about getting callers, people who've got that sort of ability and that's their place on the team. I think RQT or Gumba would have a good place
But
overseas.
how can you measure that? You
No, well, you
can't.
can't. I'm not saying you can. I'm measuring it from, I don't know, my own subjectivity of what I've seen of
course.
you guys
Well, our
having done
results have
tournaments,
just been
etc.
consistent.
I don't think that Gumba would be able to get away on Anna overseas. I think he'd have to switch over to Lucio. I don't think he's mechanically able enough. Like looking at some of the top Annas overseas, the people you'd want on those sort of like absolutely tier 1 international teams, I don't think he'd probably get away with that there. But I could see him, switching on to Lucio and still using his calling and leading ability and being fine. So I think, either of you guys have probably got a chance on that front. If I had to pick another person, it's probably getting tough
sign
at
me
that
up, coach.
point.
Just pick Fusion
maybe-
Girls Ross people. You can't go wrong.
Yeah.
I mean,
Eat up. You have to
actually,
put Eat Up in your list.
okay, you guys keep talking about Eat Up, right? Does he talk? So we've been talking about this whole you got DPS players who are just crazy fraggers, and then people who can actually communicate with their team. Do you
His
think
communication isn't his strong suit. No.
Did you
Right.
sit
Okay,
in
so I
on-
wouldn't put him in then. I think that will be something that will be very important and people will look at.
Didn't you just pick Huru out of mute?
I did.
No,
no,
I did.
no,
I
that-
did.
Oh, it was Bobby. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
sorry.
think. Did you guys listen to the Scrimcast, or not the Scrimcast, but when they were playing in Taiwan, Fusion Girls opened up their Discord to listen to their comms,
Mm-hmm.
and Eat Up and
Yeah, he still speaks.
Atar,
Like they
Eat Up
they
and
both
Atar,
speak.
they both spoke, but you don't need to speak when Kiki is fucking screaming at you, and then Gunba and RQT are both screaming at you. Like, you just don't need to speak. All you need to do is put your cursor on a head and just pull the trigger.
He could be
Oh, really?
speaking more, but the thing
I
about
don't know
it
about that
is
actually.
his mechanics are fantastic. I think everyone should be communicating. I think it's a team game and everyone should speak. I think Atar and Eat both speak. They could both speak more. Absolutely, they could both call targets more. But like when Eat speaks, it's actually really insightful. What he says is usually right, and sometimes when he says something, it's me and Gummer that's wrong. And like the times both of them do speak, it really does help. But they could both speak more. Absolutely.
I think both your DPS players, well, in the ideal scenario, obviously need to be able to communicate well because you can't count on them both being alive. And, when the other one's gone down, you need someone who is actively, not shot calling, but sorry, calling targets to focus. Yeah,
Yeah.
very important.
Do you guys think you'll do, like, RQ, do you think you'll open up your Discord again for maybe even Korean scrims for people to have a listen to?
Probably not. That was kind of a strategy for us to rope us in.
Yeah, you got baited.
Well, let's be honest. Can't blame
It
you.
worked.
Yeah,
It worked.
I love Huss. He's a good unit. He's our unit though.
Us is the best.
Well, is any
Maybe in the future. Don't know.
that'd be something I'd be keen
We're pretty
on
open
listening to.
about things. So like, a
I've,
lot
I've
of people
seen
know how
Doctor
our
lurking
team
in your
works.
Discord a lot lately.
Yeah, you should check his rank.
Yeah, getting boosted.
He's a pink member.
No, you're talking about rank in Discord, yeah.
Yeah. Doctor's been helping them out a bit with stuff, which is good.
Oh my god, he is too.
I don't know. Doctor's
What does that mean, RQT?
Who knows? He's
Please-
just been helping us out.
Please enlighten me.
Giving us some VODs, helping us out.
Well,
That's all.
he works pretty goddamn hard. He loves
He
this
does.
game. He loves this scene.
I don't think there's anyone that can do what he does other than him at the moment. If I wanted, a coach or something like that, and Dr. Nutter said no, I would stop looking because I don't think there's anyone else that could do it.
Yeah, I've known some other teams that have tried to
Who's available?
try to get him on board, but he's I think he's going to go somewhere. I've called this another podcast previously. I said within 3 years, because he's 19 years old, in 3 years he will be having a full-time job somewhere in esports. That guy's crazy. Like if you have that much passion, that much drive, you're going to get somewhere because he's not taking no
Analytics
for an
is
answer.
so important to this game, and I think people underappreciate that this game isn't about mechanical skill. It is legitimately more about strategy and communication and the analytics side, I think, more so than aiming, because it's at the bottom of all of it. It does come down to ultimates, and that is ult management, that is ult strategy. And sure, you can have these crazy individual plays like Taimu in Apex like a week ago, holding Ilios well point like by himself on Tracer. He stopped the other team from capping it for about a minute almost on his own until his team was able to come back and they actually took the point after losing the first team fight. So yeah, there are chances for individual plays, but not in the same capacity something like Counter-Strike does, where that's all the game is, mechanics. And sure, there is shot calling and strategy.
So not true. Yeah.
But it's more open to individual plays than a game like Overwatch. I think you could agree with that.
Yeah, I can agree with
Yes. I've seen people 1v5 on Counter-Strike. You can't really 1v6 in Overwatch.
You can shot call anything, but if someone's going to rock up and tap five people in the head, then you're going to feel bad.
Yeah. And I've seen it. I followed Luke Havoc for quite some time, and I've seen him 1v5 several times in the past, and there's no shot caller that could stop him killing you in the head.
That's right. This game is less...
I got an ace when I played in ranked the other night, man. I could do it. It's easy.
Oh shit, you're insane. But yeah, going back to it, I think analytics and like shot calling is so important to this game, and I don't think in Australia at the moment there's that many people that can do it that well. And I think that's just a fair comment to say.
I think the talent is here, like the talent. Like you see players like Huwu, Micro, Bachu, Will One,
Tails.
Yeah, Trillator and shit. They just need, and it's something I've been saying for a while in a different context, is that there's so many of these young players that just need a coach / leadership, dad figure almost to fucking just coach them in game. And that was like one of the best things. That was one of the best things about LoveShack, is that we had all these young talented players, and then we just had me yelling at them, and then eventually Lim yelling at them, and it worked really fucking well. So you just need more leaders in the community, and more leaders that want to lead as well.
People that are willing to cop losses and learn from them, not just fucking bail after a few losses.
I will be fair. Shot calling fucking blows. It is just stressful. Like, I hate it. But like, I am pretty good at it. And like, fact is, you need it. So, but holy shit, it sucks.
If you make a wrong call, it does fucking like hit you pretty hard. Sucks. Big ones.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is like some people that like to shot call, but once they make a wrong call and things don't go their way in the game, they become quiet and then communication dies. I've seen that plenty of times.
I think that's a lot on the team as well, though, because if you're like, your team needs to understand that you're not infallible, and your team needs to understand that like you're going to make mistakes. Like, no one's perfect, and they've just got to try and follow as best they can, because the whole thing is, if everyone does, like, it's better that everyone does a bad plan together than everyone does like a good plan by themselves. I agree.
Yeah, that was our philosophy in LoveShack, is that you listen to my call, and if I fuck it up, you guys can call me whatever you want after, but if you don't go through with my call, then
that's why
it's
the
just
dynamic in our team is pretty unique at the moment, because there's me. At the bottom of it is what I say goes, and that's what happens. But I have Gumbo as well, who like we argue and we like talk about what's right or wrong. Sometimes I'm wrong, sometimes he's wrong. The two of us together are able to usually develop the correct strategy for the next team fight and stuff like that. But like people like Eep who say, "Oh, you guys are retarded. We shouldn't do this." And like he's right, we shouldn't do that, so we don't do that. And we have like Huss who does it as well now with our current team. Everyone, almost everyone contributes in some way to what goes on in terms of strategy. But yeah, at the end of the day, it is my call, and I think it should be someone's call at the bottom of it, because as we've said, it's better to execute something together, even if it may not be the best play, rather than trying to do your own thing and it on paper being better, but without the follow-up, it becomes not better.
And having a lot of people to contribute in Overwatch is also very important, because there's so much going on, right? Like, even us as casters, like we can focus on like one or two things, but like you can't see everything. It's with 6v6, there's so much going on at one time that no one person is ever going to be able to like fully understand and comprehend what is going on. So you really need everyone contributing, because if they're seeing something that you're not, maybe you can't necessarily make the right call, because if you're like the fucking Reinhardt or something in the front, you're not seeing like the Ana getting dived by the Genji at the back, and you're not sure like what is the best way to stop that happening. And then like you die as a Reinhardt, and you're like, oh, why is this happening? It's like because you're
I've put responsibility on Trill, for instance, our Reinhardt player. If he goes in and he can't see their Reinhardt, that's something he needs to call. And like if he can't see their Reinhardt, it probably means their Reinhardt's behind us or something, getting ready to drop a fat slam on our assholes. So, stuff like that, even minimal things like delegating certain things that are unreasonable for one person to do. And like I lose track of what ults they use all the time. I'm constantly asking, did they use this? Did they use that? Did they use this? But there is so much shit going on in this utterly shit game that's not utter shit at all, but it's a disaster. It's a mess. That not one person can't keep track of everything.
That's why I had to start practicing every single day. And listening to people communicate in their scrims and watching scrims, so I can actually, when I'm doing play-by-play, I don't get caught on something. Because I noticed when I first started casting, I'd get caught a lot just trying to get words out, and just because there's so much happens so quickly, you're like, and then you don't want to lose track of anything. So it is a hard game. It's a very hard game to cast, hard game to play. It's just we're so used
if
to
you're
like
free
fighting
one day,
phones.
maybe you can come watch us play for an hour or two.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
that'd be awesome.
Invite me in, like you say. I'm there.
All right, maybe we'll see. Can't do everyone at once though. That'd be awkward.
Well,
full spectator list.
But,
you can probably come around one time.
So let's
we had Mitch sit in as well once.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good.
You've had did you have Elfish at one point? Or was that Chiefs back in the day? That might have been Chiefs.
I don't think I've ever spoken to that guy.
Okay. He's
spoken to Mitch though. He's a cool dude.
Yeah, Mitch is awesome. He's brutally honest though. Brutally honest.
I've seen those streams.
As we all know.
I was giving him shit in one of those streams as EJ was right.
Yeah.
I told him that. And he was like, you fucking bastard.
Yeah. Oh man. All right, just Nectar like winding him up as well.
Yeah.
In the chat. That was pretty fucking funny.
That was the stream where he said Slid's team was the best in the country, I think. That was funny.
It was good.
You didn't know Jam feels bad, man.
Well, he does now, so.
Yeah, well, he's got a lot of shit going on. Very understandable.
Is he back overseas again?
Yeah, he's back in Germany.
Yeah.
So, what's he casting now? Is he casting anything?
I'm not sure. I think there was something I saw his name on recently.
He's been
He was
casting
doing Alienware monthly. Yeah,
that's
did
right.
that.
The Alienware. Yep.
The 4-tank fucking tournament.
Is there there'll be something coming
Have
up?
I told you guys 4 tanks is shit? Because let
I
me
think you mentioned it once.
it's utter garbage.
We can use this to wrap things up because we've been going on for. So I got something to do at 8 o'clock, so I got to get ready for that. So I want you to wrap up with your final thoughts on all the past matters, the past everything. You first, RQD. You can talk about your the 4 tank meta and your love for it now.
4 tank might be the worst fucking thing I've seen in this game since double Tracer, double Winston, double Lucio. But the difference is double Tracer, double Winston, double Lucio was actually really good. Whereas
won the
Horde
games.
Tank is fucking shit. That's all I've got.
Any shout outs to your boys back in Fusion Girls? Or your
Oh,
girls?
shout out
rather?
to the girls. My girls. Trill is beautiful. He's my favorite. Don't tell anyone I said that. Oh, I guess everyone knows now.
Yeah.
Nah. Yeah, team's great. I love everyone on it. And I wish Ato a safe trip home and a swift one because holy fuck, get out of India, dude.
Nice.
He's just messages us every day saying how shit it is. Feels bad, man. Come home soon.
What about you, Smash?
Oh, it's good fun. Thanks for
Can
having
I
me
have
on
a
the
shout
show.
out, Ben?
Shout out to my girls, Kiki, Cinderella, Pandy. Gonna go get lunch with them tomorrow. It's gonna be exciting. Andrew's obviously my second girl. Shout out to Evie, who will be playing quick play probably with Kiki. It looks like. And yeah, shout out to Serenity as well. Actually, cheeky shout out to
Serenity
him because
and Dr. Nutter and anyone else who's helped our team along the way.
oh, I mean
'cause-
Serenity for helping the APAC connection, I guess. Like he's
Yeah, that
translating,
too.
helping get those Taiwan. That's actually a huge deal. Like that's a huge deal. That he's getting Taiwan teams into Heroes League or whatever. That bridges the gap. And
I mean, Lost
more
Murdos
people
wouldn't have been
doing that.
possible as well for us without him.
Mm.
So
yeah, a
thank
silent
God
hero.
can you eat?
And then
Yeah, that's all from me.
last but not least is, of course, Genome.
Look, shout out to our fellow casters, Xenox and Doctor, who turn up every week for us at the CyberGamer, and hopefully we'll all be on to bigger and better things soon. But we'll still be there at CyberGamer. Don't worry, we're not going anywhere in terms of that. Look, if you haven't checked out my channel yet, go give a look on Genome Esports on YouTube. You can check out an interview with the amazing Smashbrutha here, who
Yeah, I
apparently
lied.
nothing from that interview is relevant anymore, but it's still good fun to watch, I'm sure.
Lying
And
bastard.
and Red Act there as well. Hopefully I'll have some more stuff up on that soon. Chuck me a follow on Twitter. Chuck everyone a follow on Twitter. And yeah, shout out to the community. I love esports so much, and I'm sure as everyone does here, and we all just really want to be a part of it. And I think next time, you're thinking about being salty and going off at someone, just try and be nice and try and think positively. Don't remotely look at anything that goes on in ANZ Overwatch Discord, and just try and help someone out, because I really want Australian esports to grow. Tournaments, infrastructure, community, just everything, and catch up with the rest of the world, because Australia is a bit behind at the moment. We've got a lot of challenges to overcome, but I think with everyone trying to tackle those problems together, we will get there. So cheers, everybody, and I hope we all have a fantastic life in esports from here on.
Well said, mate. So big thank you to everyone who watches the podcast every week, that retweets, likes it, subs to me on YouTube, all that sort of stuff. Even on watching me practice cast on Twitch with Genome and Doctor, Xenox, Racket. And then some of the other casters are going to help out and bring them up to start doing some more casts, because we'll need more casters once we have some leagues going on. There'll be multiple divisions. I can't do goddamn 4 casts a week. That's going to kill me. So we need a lot more casters to come through. So if you're interested in the future, make sure you let me know. But until then, I'll see you all Sunday at 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time for the CyberGamer Finals, unless you catch me on my Twitch channel. But until then, I'll see you guys on Sunday. Peace.